It's That Little Gay Talk Show with Joel Tatum and Charlotte Shotguns. Houston's hot mess of a podcast. A funny but thoughtful look at the LGBTQIA plus community.
Welcome. It's another episode of That Little Gay Talk Show. It's Joel Tatum, of course. I know you heard that in the intro, but I like to say it anyway. I've been doing this now for a year and a half, so it's just force of habit. Welcome to today's show. Charlotte, unfortunately, could not make it this time around. She'll be back next week, and I have a guest today, and it's someone I met when we only met briefly, but her poetry affected me so much, I'm like, I have to have her back on the show again. Yay. So, Prescylia Mae is now on my show today. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
No, you're welcome. No, I was just going to say you're welcome.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I want to say thank you again, just because I have such an appreciation for the platform, to open a platform for people to come together and discuss some of the issues going on in society, you know, in different ways that we can share personal knowledge to help one another in different ways. So thank you very much.
You're welcome. And for the Houston community and sometimes the world, because, you know, I'm on everything, give us a quick bio, quick background of who you are. And so interesting. I am first a child of God and Mother Earth, you know. So I always like to say humans, you know, came into being when the sunlight, the light of the sun met with the earth and fertilized her. So it's legitimately, and I was taught in really cool ways, legitimately, the sun is my dad and the earth is my mom, and our souls are made of God, or the source of creation, whatever you want to call it, that intelligent force. And we are souls, you know, our souls in these physical bodies. So I've just been trying to do my best since I popped up. Yeah, exactly. Here. Well, I'm a bit agnostic. So okay. I do believe in a central being, and I've studied enough religions that I kind of embrace a little bit of this and a little bit of that.
Yeah.
We were not Christian when I was growing up. Christianity actually didn't happen until we moved to the South, amazingly enough.
Okay.
So, not big church people.
Not at all myself either.
Yeah, exactly. I think, my parents didn't actually start going to church until after 50. I don't know why that's a thing.
Okay.
Well, when I say my parents, I mean my mother. My father worships at the church of NFL. So, yeah, so he will never set foot in the church. One, because he's scared it'll burn up. And two, he, like I said, he worships at the altar of the NFL. So,
okay.
So, and he did teach us, hey, do your own thing.
Yeah. I think it's important to connect to the source, however you do as an individual.
And I don't think anybody's ever really argued when you have, with him, when you have seen the horrors of war, because he was a Vietnam vet, the idea of God was not something he ever wanted to discuss. So it was he was never a spiritual person. And so that always affected him.
That's so hard. You know, the veterans, like they go through so much. It's crazy. Their world is totally different. And I honestly have nothing but respect for men that were sent over there to be traumatized and then just come back, you know. And I have an elder that I love very much, and it was the same thing, horrible stuff that he had to do. And really, it's like his relationship with the Creator has been the most healing thing for him, you know, mind, body, spirit. And it takes a lot of people to come together and to pray about healing, and it legitimately makes a difference, you know.
And how do you feel about spirituality in the LGBTQ community? Do you think we're slowly I'm not gonna. Do I want to say catching up? I want to
say that it's not just the LGBTQ community that is lacking in spirituality. It is legitimately this world, this society that we live in has been colonized, right? Spaniard and European colonization has affected the Americas the most, you know, and so it's that form of colonization that is naturally disconnecting from what legitimate spirituality is, which is your relationship with Creator, however that comes or however that goes. And so with social, you know, don't mean to sound like a grandparent, but it is wasting your mind with social media, things that aren't healthy, not taking care of your body, your spirit, not stepping outside, putting your feet in the earth, taking in the sun, you know, rays into your body. Like, it's like all of the people super stuck in the colonialized version of reality, which is just destructive, that are lacking in you know, the understanding that we are. It's not even. So many people like are feeling a lack of connection, not recognizing like we are the earth. It's not a lack of connection to the earth. You're made of the earth, you know, like your soul, like we just has to be respected. And, but I also see a lot of, especially within the LGBTQ community, compassion, like love and compassion. And that is what the world needs right now, you know? And so I think it's just that the earth herself is hurting, and so the people themselves are hurting, and there's not safe enough spaces to come out and express with one another, and so we should be creating those within our own communities and our own families.
That's wild. That's wild. I love that. That's exactly. We need that breath of fresh air every now and then to just take a breath and look at, you know, like I said, because I podcast, I spend a lot of time on social media, and over the summer, you know, with COVID and everything else, a lot of time spent on social media, a lot of time having to deal with this news story and that news story, and et cetera, et cetera. So having to, I think having to take a step back and go, you know what, I need to go outside.
Yeah.
I need to get outside. I need to feel the sun on my skin. I need to kind of refresh. I think we are lacking that, and I think COVID didn't help, but I also didn't think it didn't hurt either, because like I said, I saw people actually getting outside, and I mean, we couldn't congregate together, but people getting outside, going for walks, or, you know, connecting with neighbors, or checking up on each other and that kind of thing. I felt there was a little bit more compassion going on than before. I don't understand how we go through these short little bursts and then we end up right back where we started from. But it's those short little bursts that I think I enjoy, but I'm starting to see change. And I think with and I'm so proud I'm much more prouder of the younger generation because you guys are really taking the bull by the horn and saying, hey, look, we have to. We don't have a choice. Yeah. Y'all left us no choice.
We have to come together. There's no other option.
Yeah, exactly. Y'all have left us no choice, so we have to fix all this stuff, and you're going to fight us all the way there.
Exactly.
God, cancel culture and everything else, things that honestly don't make sense to me. I mean, the fact of the matter is, things in culture that are now outdated tend to just move on. But I think we're making much more of a big deal about certain things especially from childhood. I think too many adults still revel in childhood, I think, a little too much, not realizing that change has to come with each generation.
Yeah.
And so I think that's where the culture wars are right now. We're battling between older and younger, and
that's so crazy because I learned there's a difference in being childish and being childlike, and this really helped me a lot as a person that grew up with different traumas that legitimately just affect your brain, and so that childlike spirit is like that kid that lives within us all that really needs a lot of love, and it's just that joyful, piece of ourselves that is truly like who we are, in a space that doesn't have to protect itself. But childishness, I think does stem from a lot of traumas. I think a lot of the older generations don't even know that they're traumatized and that healing needs to take place. Don't know that, you know, they lived in a society where, everybody's just kind of brainwashed, you know? And so it's like, oh, no, you have to be like this. If you're not, you know, living in this way, it's wrong, you know? But society is the same thing that's pumping our elders with drugs, pumping our communities with drugs, locking our men away, you know. Sex slave trafficking is the largest industry in the world. The world. You know, you think these fools controlling what's going on, that 1% of legitimate wealth are not aware and don't have the ability to actually, like, assist us. And so it's just like our people are continually being poisoned. When it comes to the elders, I think something that would really help, like I say, is a recognition, like, of the trauma and healing from that trauma. And once you're able to better accept yourself, you're better able to accept the youth, you know, because love and acceptance is super necessary for development, you know. And if you're hurting so much that you're hurting the future generations, then you're going against nature's natural order, you know. And so things are going to continue to stay in this funk. But like I say, back to the whole healing, everybody just healing individually and coming together and forming coalitions for what we're going to do in this piece of society, and our piece that we, you know, have an effect on because we're there. What is the energy that we're going to share, you know? And if you're not healed, it can't be healing. But if you're healing yourself, then you have a better chance to help heal others, you know? And so that kind of energy should be pushed, because wherever it starts, like, it expands continuously. It never stops. That love, you're planting seeds, you know. Doesn't matter if you're here tomorrow or not, but you planted seeds, and those are going to grow. And so, yeah, I think just on our own ends, we really got to do our part out here. For real. Because there's a war, there's a spiritual war against our people. And physical. So many of our people are dying right now. So many food sources, lower, you know, income, whatever areas or countries, just different places in the world, food sources are being cut off. So many of our people are literally just dying right now. And it's like, oh, I don't know, you know, like, first world problems. It's like we're having all these first world problems, but it's like many of us are dying. And as soon as these world governments have ability to gain control over all of us, we're going to be in trouble. We're privileged. We have a lot of privileges taken for granted. And it's just like, while we have the privilege to actually make changes, we should. It'll make us feel better.
Where do you think that change should start? Where I mean, with all you've listed, the list goes on of all the issues that we have as human beings on this planet, as people of color, as women, as members of a gender community, that kind of thing. Where do you think basically healing should start?
Okay, so definitely self-love. 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 Because if you love yourself, right? Then you take care of yourself. Not drinking, not smoking, not bunch of drug use, not all this stuff that's going to harm you, right? But actual legitimate self-acceptance, self-love, right? Then you can better take care of your position within your family. Then you can better take care of your position within your community in a way that's not going to harm you, you know? And so just definitely self-love, because people aren't taught how to do that. People aren't taught self-acceptance, and that will affect and poison your sacred vessel, your garden, you know? It's just like, if it's filled with self-doubt and worry and fear and all that stuff, you know, yes, things are going to grow, but those, you know, if that's what you fertilized your soil with, right, that's what's going to grow. So we just need to uproot all the fear, uproot the self-doubt, you know, all that bullshit, just take it out, burn it, do whatever you need to do with it. And then just be fertilizing your garden with self-love, because that way, again, like I learned in a super special way, creator, self, family, community. And that order is going to help keep you strong. So I'm blessed about that. So I try to follow that order and So like I say, you know, self-love has to do as well with loving God. I say God, but you could say whatever you want to say because that's your way to connect. But I love God, and taking care of myself is a way that I show that I love God. And like I said, within my family, that's a lot of work. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of discipline to be able to affect those that we care for in a good way without being, you know, controlling. Because all we can do is live as an example, right? But at the end of the day, like, I love my brother. I love my aunties, my uncles, my nana, my, you know, everybody that is within my family, my mom, and I'm going to do everything in my power to help. And to do that, I have to be well, right? These kids need an example growing up. It's fucked up in the world. These kids need an example. I have to be that example. No one's going to do it for me. No one's going to do it for them, you know, unless you decide to. So if I'm not well and healthy in my head, what kind of example am I going to be? What kind of a granddaughter am I going to be? What kind of a child am I going to be when my elders and my younger people in my family need help, right? And so then after you work on that, getting that kind of stuff together, it's in the community. If I don't love myself, I'm going to judge my community members. Exactly the way I see myself, I'm going to see them. If I'm not well in my head and I think low of myself, oh, that person's stupid, then, you know, the other always becomes less than what they are because it's a projection of you viewing yourself as less than. So if I love myself, if I take care of myself, if my home is straight and my, you know, family life is together, and there's going to be ups and downs, that's okay. It's life. But if I have these things together, then within the community, I can bring my presence and energy that is going to be helpful more than anything else. Then I can say, oh, you know, I love me, so I love you. You know, I appreciate my individualism. And so when I recognize the individualism and the humanity of another person, I can love them and encourage them as they are, not with what I want them to be because I'm not taking care of myself emotionally. So yeah, self-love.
And Priscilla, first of all, let me get this off the table. Gender pronoun, which gender pronoun should I properly use for you?
Oh, she.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
Thanks.
Because like I said, I'm of the generation where I am trying to learn and grow. And I want to make sure that I you know, if for my generation, getting rid of trauma or accepting trauma, let's not say getting rid of trauma. Trauma is a part of what makes us, whether we like it or not.
Yeah. So,
trauma, I think, is something that you know what? The odd thing is that with I'm Gen X, and the odd thing about Gen X is the fact that Gen X, and this is what I've been told through social media and everything else, Gen X doesn't want to get involved with boomers, but they also don't want to get involved with millennials or Gen Zers. We kind of just want to walk our own line. And I think as far as Gen Xers are concerned, I was born in the late 60s, a child of the 70s, teenager in the 80s, a young person in the 90s. So, my generation, which rightfully enough was called the me generation, spent a lot of time focusing on us. And I think as we've gotten older, and I do have some pride in this generation, because I think as we've gotten older, the things that we've taught millennials and even Gen Zers, depending on the age, is now starting to take hold. But we're not getting too involved because I think, and this is just theory, I think honestly, we want, and like I said, this is in theory, and this is also from the fact of the way as a gay man that I grew up, because when I grew up, as soon as I turned 18, I was excited to, one, leave my house, and two, to come out as gay.
Yeah.
And then the AIDS epidemic hit.
Aisha.
And that put a damper on everything because I studied gay up until that point. My entire high school life was spent in libraries trying to understand who I was.
Oh, wow.
because I did not understand who I was. I was not, I didn't go out on a lot of dates, but I had a lot of friends. I was always surrounded by girls, but I was never really interested in girls.
Yeah.
I knew I had dreams about guys. There were several guys in high school that I fawned over, but didn't know whether that was a sexual thing, whether that's a normal thing. So there was a lot of confusion. And thankfully enough, I had parents who, from age 12 all the way to 19, who were like, "Look, if you're gay, we're okay.
We're okay.
We're okay with it." And many conversations at 3:00 in the morning where it's like, I love you if you're gay. Although the caveat was as long as you're not a bottom, which I still to this day do not understand how my father understands the difference between a top and a bottom. Never asked. Don't want to know. I was 16 and I didn't know what a top or a bottom. I didn't know what he meant when he said top or a bottom. Just don't be a bottom. I did not know until later on. And I did not know until my 20s where I was like, okay.
Damn, Daddy. Damn.
How did he? What? So I never questioned it. For many years, and I told my mom this, my parents were horribly divorced.
Okay.
Horribly divorced. To this, it's been, 50-something years? And they still don't like each other. They still will not be in the same room with each other. She never remarried. Okay. He remarried 7 times.
Wow.
So, from my end, I have brothers. I have 2 brothers from the first marriage, and he has children from several other different marriages. I love them. They're family. Not as super close, but I love them. They are family. So, but, so I learned trauma in my 20s. I expected to be gay, young, gay, and free.
Yeah.
I wanted to be and please, no one take offense to this, please. I wanted to be, because I kind of was, I wanted to be the skinny twink who was bitchy all the time and, was Miss Catty and all this other stuff. And, when I see the twinks now, I'm like, aw, I wanted to be like that.
Aw, right.
But I had to worry about my safety.
Of course.
And I had to worry. And, when you're 22 and you've already been to 4 funerals, that's traumatizing.
Yeah.
So I think with my generation, especially my generation of gay men, we want to enjoy our life.
Of course.
We lost most of our 20s and 30s because a lot of us spent time fighting for causes.
Yeah.
A lot of us had to march in the streets just to get medications. I grew up in the Reagan era where these people went to a dinner party while people were dying of AIDS, left and right, and they couldn't have cared less. It wasn't until, and I cannot believe I'm saying this, it wasn't until Hollywood got involved that suddenly people were like, oh, I guess we should care about this. Not basic human decency. We had to wait till someone rich, which I think from that time, and I think I resented rich people from that time on, and I still kind of do resent rich people up to this day because I feel like we worship the rich way too much.
Oh, definitely. Identifying with a class that you're not a part of is not helpful. And
it actually began in the 90s. For the longest time, luxury items were never advertised on television up until, I think, 1990. My history might be off, so you might want to look that up. Luxury items were never advertised on television. Liquor was never advertised on television. Even prescription drugs. I don't understand why prescription drugs are even advertised on TV.
Crazy. Poison.
It's like the side effects are more dangerous than the drug.
Exactly.
So I think that my resentment started there simply because a rich person has to step in and be a decent human being, but no one in the government can. And the worship of the rich began then. Why we have the reality TV shows where we follow rich people around doing rich things that we will never get to do. And honestly, we will never get to do.
Can I make a note? Okay,
yeah, please make a note.
And, you know, yeah, to be stigmatized as African American and gay and to have the people poison, like, on the level, like, those are just huge traumas. And I want to say thank you for sharing, because that gives me better, you know, perspective of what's going on, because understanding what's going on and how the people have walked, like, will help us see the bigger picture, you know, and what, you know, where we all fall in that is really important. Also with the, again, like, identifying with, like, the poorer classes identifying with wealthier classes, right? I think that kind of came about after Bacon's rebellion, right? So during the slave trade, there were a lot of European indentured servants, and they were just like us. And looking at history really helps understand what's going on these days and what went on when we were traumatized. You know, the traumas also don't necessarily stop. You just learn how to handle them, right? You can do that healthily, or you could do that unhealthily. You could get better, or you could fucking destroy yourself, right? And so during, there was a time when the white indentured servants at the time, right, but white and black were not concepts invented yet. When the less melanated indentured servants recognized the horrible treatment of, you know, of the slaves.
You can go Anglo-Saxon and African
when they didn't recognize, you know, when they recognized they were able, okay, pardon me, let me collect my thoughts. So, the less melanated individuals who were subjected to the same conditions as African slaves had a better understanding of what was going on and how horrific it was and what it was actually doing to the people. And so they decided, because again, they're indentured servants, they're going to gain their freedom. When they gained their freedom, they started making moves in the political system to equalize the playing field so that people weren't treated like this, right? And so when that happened, there was a massive rebellion. We could look it up. It's called Bacon's Rebellion, right? And a lot of change was starting to be made. And so these governments kind of freaked out and were like, oh no, we can't have the poor class identifying with, you know, with the horrible conditions of some of the people and actually effectively, politically making change, right? So that is, right after that, they created white and black, right? And if you were white, you had certain privileges, no matter where you fell in a class system, right? But if you were black, you just didn't. And so that's how they got white privilege and white people identifying with a class of wealth that they're never going to see. And they're just as oppressed, you know, in a different way. There's different levels to the oppression, definitely. But they were just less able to identify with our struggles, you know? And so, because they felt privileged, so above, you know? And it's so interesting because, and I always say, you know, like, man, I feel like the gay people, like, have it just as bad as the black people because truly, like, in the way that, like the stigmatization, it's ridiculous, or the actual, like, being in fear, you know? And I want to say it got a little bit better with my generation because, I mean, and me included, like, from the time I was this big, I was advocating for gay and trans rights because my older brother had a sex change and, you know, he was a girl and he always felt like a boy, and bitch, you couldn't tell me, you know, anything that was hateful because he lived his life better than most of the straight, you know, Christian or whatever, deeply in whatever other religions, you know, there are. This person, again, agnostic, you know, not sure, and transsexual, like protected us better than anybody else.
You know, I think that's why there's so much hatred now towards the transgender community. I think people don't seem to understand something. Transgender people are the masters of self-acceptance. They are the true masters of. Do you know it is not easy to get up in the morning and you have made you know that you have wanted to be a woman. You go through the hormone treatments. You go through all the things that you need to do to make this transition, and then you deal with the horrors of society, the hatred of society every day, and you walk in your front door and you know who you are.
Exactly.
They are the masters of self-acceptance.
You know, thriving too.
And thriving and everything else. And I think that there is a level of, I want to say jealousy, because we just talked about self-acceptance earlier.
People be hating on
people who are like, hey, I know who I am and I love who I am, and that's all there is to it.
And the other people are like, no, I don't accept myself, so you can't accept yours. And it's like, look, bitch, you're going to just need to love yourself over there, you know, then you won't be so bitter.
Yes, and I think that's why that's why there's always been a backlash when it comes to safe spaces for certain groups of people, because it's like, look, I lived in this world and I didn't have a safe space, and blah,
which is horrible.
But at the same time, it's like I said, I feel like that this fight is mostly between boomers and Gen Zers.
And I think that's the problem entirely, that it's still this, like, since the establishment of the Republic right here in these lands, right, stolen from the native peoples and built up by the natives and the slaves, right, as just like divide and conquer, divide and conquer, divide and conquer, divide and conquer. But what is dividing us? And like this way that the people are being conquered is poisoning our elders. It's poisoning the people, the minds and the bodies of the people, the food, to the air, to the earth. When soil is sick, with soil is sick, what grows is sick. When soil is fertile, what grows is beautiful and fertilized. There's a difference. You know, we're living in unwell soil. Our soil is sick. Our earth is really sick. And so, of course, the people are going to be sick and hurting. And yes, we're turning against one another, but that's really the problem. We need to group together. We need each other because all of our future generations depend on it. And so until we really get that ingrained into like the bones of societal understanding, like, guys, we need to group together. Something's wrong. We have to come together. There's no other option. Fuck your skin color. Honestly, like, where we come from is important. We can learn from our own people's ways and share when, you know, we can share things, but we have got to come together. Like, it's critical. It's the most critical thing happening right now. So I don't care if you're white. I don't care if you're black. I don't care if you're gay. I don't care if you're straight. I don't care if you're an elder. I don't care if you're a youth. We need to figure out what we're going to do together, communally, to help the planet right now. Okay, so let's stop for a moment. Let's take one of those deep breaths so that eventually I can put in a commercial. Okay. Because that's what I have to do if I want to slowly start to get paid for this. Even though I love doing this. I love podcasting. I think it's one of the greatest things that has allowed me to really get to know the community. Yeah. So much better than it's so important, I think. So as much as I would love to say, I'd love to just do this as a hobby, I'd also... you need to get paid for your work,
I need to get paid.
For real.
So we're going to take a little bit of a break. Excellent. And then we're going to get into the second part of the show. You know, I think we're just on the tip of talking about cultural revolution, because I think that we are at one of the greatest cultural revolutions in history right now. Okay. And I think technology really does have a lot to do with it. And let's get into the strengths and weaknesses of what that technology is doing in this cultural revolution. But I just drank some water. Yeah. And I feel a burp coming on. And excellent. You don't want your guest talking and suddenly you just let one rip. And then your guest is like, okay, well, it's natural. It's natural. I know it's natural, but for some people it's like rude. So we're going to take just a little bit of a break and we'll be right back. Hey. And we are back. I'm back with. I know I'm sorry. I know I'm gonna mess it up. I have a terrible time messing up names.
It's Priscilla.
Priscilla. We're back with Prescylia Mae.
Hey.
And when I see it, automatically in my head, I'm thinking Priscilla. It's like when you look at a person, especially a person with an unusual name, mm-hmm. and they're trying to tell you how to pronounce it. And then I start to feel, you ever watch like those infomercials where people can't even put a basic top on something, and you're like, it can't be that hard to put a top on something. That I need to buy this product for 3 easy payments of $19.95 because I can't put a top on a jar. Yeah. So it's the same with names. It's like someone will say, "Hey, my name is this," and I'll be like, "Is it that?" "No, it's this. Pronounce it this." And I'm like, "That. No, this." And I don't want them to say, "Well, okay, well, you can't pronounce it. Just say something else." Okay. And it's like, well, no, I'd rather call you by your name. I want to call you your name. I want to call you your name.
I'm trying, yeah.
I'm really trying because, like I said, people could, my name is simple. It's Joel. Joel. Do you know how many times I get called Joel?
Oh, wow.
On a daily basis.
Okay.
On a daily basis. Live in Washington, D.C. or New York, it's Joel. Come to Texas, it's Joel. Now, I did know that there is a slight history behind that.
Okay.
And that is because a lot of Spanish speakers call me Joel, which is very sexy, especially when it's Spanish men calling me Joel. And I'm like, oh, you know what? Okay, I'm okay with that. I'm okay. You can call me whatever you want to, Poppy. I'm okay with it. But I think but I get annoyed when it's white people or sometimes even black people. So it's Joel. So it's Joel. No, it's not Joel. It's Joel, but it's spelled Joel. No, it is Joel. It is not Joel.
I'm telling you, my name.
Literally telling you.
Name.
I'm telling you, it's Joel. And so I know my name. So when other people. So I'm a little bit more sensitive when I'm not pronouncing someone else's name correctly. And I don't want people, you know how people will look at you and be like, I don't feel like it today. I don't feel like correcting him.
Okay.
And I've had those moments where it's like, Lord, I don't feel like this. Just you can call me Joel.
Okay. Very rarely am I like that. Most of the time I'm just like, it's Priscilla.
Mm-hmm. But, I don't want people to get mad and go, well, I think I told you like 19 times already. So, but like I said, especially when it's, let me give you an example. We had DJ Kirsten on the phone. He is from Norway.
Okay.
He is a gay rapper in Norway.
Oh, cool.
And, but it's spelled Karsten. So I kept saying Karsten. No, and he's like, it's Kirsten.
Kirsten.
And I'm like, okay, Karsten. No, it's Kirsten. And I'm like, I keep saying Kirsten, and it doesn't come out. It doesn't feel natural all the time. I'm trying. So I think the joke with him is that the hot gay rapper whose name I can't get right.
Oh.
And he still responds to that, and it's so cute. Okay. Of course, he's also so cute. But, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm a big flirt.
It's okay. That's nice.
I'm a big flirt. And, usually, and like I said, this is the first time I've had a woman on the show in quite some time. So usually I'm a big flirt with the guest. So now I have a woman across the tables, and now I have to, be super intellectual. Because for some reason, one more quick story. The local bar down the street, little hole in the wall dive bar. I'm usually sitting around 5 of the most incredible women I've ever met. 3 scientists, an archaeologist, and a lawyer, which the lawyer is not that impressive, but that's just a lawyer joke. But, to sit around to listen to their conversations and me being involved in the conversations some of the time, and I've learned a lot about physics and archaeology, and I think one is bioengineer. Amazing.
Yeah.
And amazing. And I love saying, these are all women. These are all women. They're not sitting around talking about makeup and hair and all this other stuff. They're actually sitting around having real conversations. And I'm like, and you know, when I tell guys, they're like, you made that up. And I'm like, why? Why
would you think
would you think I would make that up?
And that's the thing in this society, you know, the divine feminine energy is, I mean, people really, really try to dishonor the divine feminine energy. And it's just kind of like, you can't.
I feel like it's done on purpose now.
And yeah, definitely. And, you know, when, again, like with the construction of this hyper-colonized society, you know, it was literally, right? Because we live in a patriarchal society. That's, everybody knows.
Yeah, everybody knows
So it was like the white man, right? And then it was, like, there's dispute over whether it was his beast, his dog, right? Or his wife. Like, which one was next, right? So it was either, so white man's on top, right? His dog, the woman, right? Then the slave, then the red man, which is the natives that they were just killing. Horrible. And so, and I'm mixed with like all three in my DNA, so it's just kind of like
it's in my DNA too. So,
you know, and so it's just like, of course, the divine feminine energy is still. I see it all over the place. That whole glass ceiling. It's so interesting to me because I'm a beautiful black woman. My energy is very strong, and you know, it doesn't matter if I'm working in a business space. It's like this like patriarchal, like these forces of the patriarch like come against me and are just like stunned into silence, you know, and they back up. They do. They back up because I'm embracive of my divine feminine energy. You can't dishonor me or treat me in any kind of disrespectful way because you're a man. And honestly, that you're dishonoring because we all have divine masculine, divine feminine. And I'm talking about like situations in a workplace, right? So when these men, like, nose in the air, oh, I'm a white man, right? I could do what I want. You're just, you know, little black girl, you know, kind of thing. But they got a brown girl fetish, right? Anyways, come to me to try to dishonor that divine energy. You can't. And also, as a man, you disrespect your own divine masculine when you try to disrespect the divine feminine, right? And so it's just like, you're not bringing disgrace to me. You're not bringing dishonor to me. You're dishonoring yourself and your future generations instead, you know, while you're trying to make me feel less than what I legitimately am. And so, again, like the divine masculine and the divine feminine are in like all things and within all of us, you know, and sometimes we have a little bit more of one and a little bit, you know, less of the other. And, yeah, that's something to be respected. So for whatever reason, yeah, people, you know, would think like, oh no, how could a scientist, you know, and a physicist and all these, you know, as women like come together and be in one spot. You shouldn't be surprised. Like the divine feminine is growing every day in universal terms as a cosmic force. And so again, you can try to disrespect it, but you're really just disrespecting yourself.
And that's why I think we are in the greatest cultural revolution in U.S. history. Honestly, I have learned, especially when it comes to women and the problems that women face. I think when I was growing up, sexual harassment had just started to become a thing, but women still didn't talk about the other issues that women have to face just from being a woman every day.
Yeah.
And I think now that women are being more vocal, you know, I didn't really, you know, when I asked you to come to the studio, my apartment studio, whatever you want to call it, you as a woman had to bring an escort.
Of course.
Because you don't know me.
Yeah.
And you have to watch out for your safety.
Always.
Whereas when I ask guys to come over, they just come over.
Yeah. There's
no worry about safety. Well, they worry about it after they leave.
Yeah.
They worry about it as soon as they come in the door and they're sitting down and they're like, oh, I think I fear for my safety now.
Anything could happen.
But I did not realize, you know, and I thought about it when you were coming over and I'm like, oh, I need to make sure that she feels safe when she comes over. So when I saw your friend Josh, say hello, Josh, in the background, getting out of the car with you, it caught me because I realized when women are talking about their safety, being able to go to certain places, and just, I think one of the greatest stories, wanting to go to, and now I know we touched up on the subject of, not putting poisons in our body and all this other stuff, but we know what society we live in. Yeah. So you wanted to go to a bar, a coffee shop, even a coffee shop, just wanting to have 5 minutes of just alone time. Yeah. Just to be in your own head and constantly having to tell men, no, I do not want to talk to you. Yeah. I just want to be by myself. Yeah. This and that. And not realizing that I can do those things. I can walk down the street and not worry. Well, I mean, crime's a little out of hand right now.
Yeah. We live in the city.
But for the most part, I can walk down the street and feel a relative of safety. Whereas my female, I've walked behind women. It's happens mostly with white women. No offense.
It's true.
But it's the truth. Having to cross the street because even though I'm bopping my head down the street wearing the gayest T-shirt on the planet, talking on the phone, not even paying attention, walking across the street because that could be a setup. That could be a setup. You have to protect yourself. You have to protect yourself. So, hearing stories from women when they talk about just being a woman every day. Yeah. This is something we never talked about before. None of this stuff was talked about when I was growing up. I did not realize that my sister, I think I might have realized maybe a little bit. My sister became very developed at 12. I mean, when I say very developed, I mean very developed. Yeah. At 12. Unfortunately, she inherited her grandmother was huge. So walking her and she was in middle school, I think, having to walk her to school to keep the boys off. Yeah. Just to keep the boys off because the boys, the same boys who didn't talk to her a year before, exactly. Suddenly she's like, these boys will not leave me alone. Yeah. They just why are they? Suddenly, they didn't talk to me last year. Now all they want to do is talk to me. And my mother having to look at her and go, well.
Started making milkshakes. All the boys are going to come to the yard.
Mm-hmm. But she also noticed, too, that, that older men would drive by.
Exactly. That's the danger. Yeah.
Older men would drive by and make comments. I recalled many comments from family friends who would make comments about the fact that, oh, she's 12. She just looks like a grown woman. And it's like,
no, she doesn't. She doesn't.
A little girl. She's a little girl. Exactly. She's 12 years old. Exactly. You as a man do not make that comment about a little girl. Exactly. That's disgusting. So,
the same thing happened to me. I'm thinner now than I've almost ever been in my life. Still at a healthy weight, which is fine. I just, eat healthily and exercise a lot. But when I was younger, I did have a more developed body, and so all the cars beeping their horns, people, stopping by you, making these different comments. Elders also, teachers and things with an obvious attraction. Different, I'm foster child, so elder uncles and things like that. Yeah, well. It's very destructive for your development, your brain's development, right? So it's just like now, as an adult, it's like I have a responsibility to heal from these traumas. And, our young women need to be protected. And this is still from slave culture, right? Our grandmas, all of our grandmas and all of our moms were raped, right? And so a lot of times they didn't get to say anything. And so when these destructive things are happening that can harm the delicate psyche of your growing little girl, it's a lot of like hush, 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 hush. The man, feels how he feels, and okay, well, there's such a lack, like, of protection for like our little girls. So, yeah, growing up, teachers, all the honks, all the whatever. But there's the danger of sex slave trafficking. There's the danger of just like
The sexualization of young women.
The hypersexualization of little girls is fucking disgusting.
It's disgusting. It's gotten out of hand.
It's really gross.
This is the beautiful thing about what I think is the culture is this new cultural revelation. These are things we're not talking about now. These are things that we cannot hide. We used to be able to hide this stuff. We can't hide it anymore.
Yeah.
It cannot be hidden. The things that we when it comes to police brutality, when it comes to I'm gonna be honest. I never really had that many problems with the police growing up.
Yeah,
I never did. I might have had one or two incidents in this neighborhood when I moved into Montrose.
Yeah,
where there was an issue. One night I was coming home from the bars. 5 police cars pulled up. I was thrown onto the hood of a car, hood of a police car. Someone said I broke into their house, and I'm like, I just literally came from a bar, like right there, and having bar patrons come across the street and say, no, he just came from the bar, and blah, 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 blah. And even the person whose house supposedly I broke in, and that was the most hilarious thing, and I never saw a police officer so embarrassed, is when she took one look at me and said, I told you guys it was a white guy. I told you that. And having to be apologized to by the police like multiple times.
After they've already assaulted you, of course.
After they've already thrown me on a police car and assaulted me. And after even while the patrons from the bar, who were white, were telling them he just left the bar, he did not break into somebody's house. So, and that was something that happened 15 years ago. It did leave a little bit of trauma when I would approach police.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I've had instances with the police where they've been very polite and very kind. And I had an issue with an old roommate who, too many drugs, had to get rid of him. The police came. They didn't automatically go, is he the druggie? They literally walked up to me and go, hey, what happened?
Yeah.
Blah, 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 blah. We had a conversation. They were very nice and cordial. They got him off the property, and that was that.
Okay.
So, and amazingly enough, he was a white guy. So, I've had good and bad relationships with the police, but when I look at everything that's going on, now that everything on social media is on social media, when people have their phones and they can record this stuff, and it made me go, I didn't realize it was happening at the rate that it was happening. I knew that with me, it was one incident, but I'd always had a decent relationship with police officers. Police officers, even when I got pulled over for ridiculous things in traffic stops, I'd always had good relationships with police officers. But now it's like, because of that, now it's, how do I feel about the police now? And how do I feel about, the sad truth, and this is the saddest truth. If there was a national database that kept officers' records in a national database, most of these officers wouldn't have gotten hired.
Yes, exactly.
In any other police department, because all they have to do is do a quick background check and say, nope, you assaulted someone, you cannot be a police officer.
Fundamentally, the systems in place are flawed and built against the people. It came down to a situation the other day where I was very minorly, I'm okay, assaulted by a door guy at a place where it's generally just an artistic, just an artistic venue. And the not having my ID, I was familiar with the place. I kind of walked around. And I was like grabbed by this like grown man, right? And in my head, I'm thinking, okay, I'm not going to fight you. But I don't want this man to think I was by myself, I usually do have an escort. I don't want this man to think that it's okay to just be grabbing women, especially, you're in a workplace, and so I wanted to call the cops. But when I started to get, which I almost never do, I'm just not going to call 5-0. I'm really not. But when I started to, my immediate thought was, oh no, that's a black man. Is the situation going to escalate and this person be murdered, And so it's I'm not even comfortable to call the cops because now this man's life like maybe in danger just based off of your presence and lack of understanding. And so I just put my hands up, stepped back, and lived my life. But that's a shame. Shouldn't be that way. And as a I think also
how do you think technology has
affected the consciousness of the people?
Yeah.
I mean, they'll tell you, Facebook and
I mean, yes, I know everybody will.
These guys, no, they literally like. I mean, it's available to everybody. Just how they are manipulating the consciousness of the people, how these hits of dopamine are literally rewiring your brain, making you addicted, right? They'll tell you just straight up. So I think
I watched the documentary.
Yeah, it's crazy, right?
It's crazy.
So like as much as possible.
While I'm on my phone going,
exactly.
I need to check my phone. And
exactly. I'm like, dangerous, like red lights, hazards, like we really need to get the fuck off these phones, because the technology is a beautiful thing if it was being utilized correctly, but it's not. It's being utilized and it's harming us. It's harming our environment. It's distracting us from what's actually important. Different things that are actually taking place on the earth is just a distraction. And what it's doing is it's pacifying a revolution. And so we need to stay off the phones as much as possible. Again, it's a beautiful tool. I call my Nana, who lives in another country, and if I didn't have this technology, I want to be able to contact her, but when I'm not, when we're not scheduled for time to be on the phone, my phone is off. My phone is as far away from me as possible because it's pumping radiation through our bodies, and it's bad. It's bad for your brain. It's bad for you. Like, we should just stay away from it. And it's also another tool. The information that gets filtered to me on my social media account is totally different than everybody in this room. It's like we're like certain things are like streamed to us specifically, and that also creates a sense of division. The information that I get on Trump, right? On that shows up on my phone, and a Trump supporter is very different. So that person thinks like, oh, this guy is great, right? Like he's actually making America great again, right? And what I get streamed to my phone is, oh my God, this guy is such an idiot. Look at what, and that's how they're keeping us divided. It's very intentional. So we need to just use our own brains. Like, guys, think for ourselves. Stay away from that shit as much as possible, because it's really putting us on a frequency that, I mean, most people aren't even getting spiritual dreams anymore because they spend all their time on their phone.
Well, this might be a dissenting view. I think this is going to be a dissenting view.
Okay.
I love technology.
Okay.
I think technology is amazing. I think technology has changed how we look at each other. I think technology has allowed us to grow on a certain level. I do agree. And I do think, and by the way, this will happen, because I think that this always happens when a new technology comes about. It will crash.
Oh, yeah.
It will crash. And that is normal. And I'm looking forward to the crash, because I really do think that we have gotten away from the idea of being able to, and I think that my generation really pushes this a lot. We don't talk to each other anymore. We used to be able to, we don't talk to each other anymore. We talk at each other. We shout at each other, but we don't talk to each other. And talking involves listening. And two ears. We're so focused. And I think that one of the things that really gets me, and I know this is going to sound like the oddest statement on the planet, is the mantra of always be yourself.
Okay.
The problem that I have with that mantra is the fact that if you are a complete and utter asshole, then now you have permission to be a complete and utter asshole.
But
the mantra be yourself should come with the addendum. But if you need to fix certain quirks in your personality,
definitely.
Please, like, self-healing. You need to self-heal.
Self-healing, exactly.
Because being yourself, does that mean that you can jump in front of me in your vehicle, give me the finger, and then say, well, I was just being myself? No, that you were just being an asshole.
I like to think that people, when they do have those like more aggressive towards others, and we live in the city of Houston, so number one, right? when people kind of do that, like, and I do think, you know, yeah, you have the right to be an asshole, but you don't have a right to be in my life with that kind of behavior.
Exactly.
Right? But, and, you know, also, like, you're lucky, right? If you're out here doing things like that to other people, right? And that's just you being yourself. You're lucky that you came across my path and not somebody else, because you will get killed for that kind of behavior. Yeah, like, we live in the city of Houston. Your ass will get shot.
You will get shot. You're in the state of Texas. Your ass will get shot.
For real. And so...
And what did what's the line from Dave Chappelle? When keeping it real goes wrong. When keeping it real goes absolutely wrong. I feel the same way about the mantra being yourself. I always feel like that was the most irresponsible mantra ever. It's always on every. Oh, if you woke up this morning and you did this and that, just be yourself and blah, blah, blah. It's like, wait a minute. You need to be a little bit more responsible.
Yeah.
Simplistic.
Yeah.
Solutions to complex problems do not solve anything.
I think the different generations, like elders, like helping to guide the youth in different ways, like should just be so much more, even, you know, parent counsel with their kids and sibling relationships, friendship relationships. Like, we really should be like helping each other to grow, mentor for like the betterment of us, instead of just calling and talking about, I don't know what people talk about, like boys or girls or oh, this, you know, celebrity, you know, nonsense, right? Like, we should really be helping guide and counsel one another, taking, you know, personal time and space for meditation and self growth and healing, you know. And if you really are an asshole, like one of my siblings, he's a fucking asshole, man.
Yeah,
but that's
one of my siblings too. He's a complete
but
asshole.
he's not gonna harm anybody, and he's gonna let you know. You know, if you go to him and say, you know, where I'm like super extra compassionate, and you're telling me all this, and I'm just like trying to listen so I can see maybe where I can help if you're asking for advice. You know, if you go to my sibling and tell him, you know, something like going on, if he doesn't care, he'll just look at you in the eyes and be like, look, dog, I don't give a fuck. You know, but he's letting you know earnestly that he really doesn't care. Now, if you just gotta get it out, like, he'll listen, but he's letting you know that he doesn't give a fuck. And that gives you an opportunity to recognize, do I want to tell my business to someone who doesn't give a fuck, or do I want to move on, heal it myself, or find someone who is actually going to care about my problem, you know? And so, like, I think being yourself is really, really important. I think being tactful, being respectful of others, and having compassion in your heart, you know, as you are yourself. And again, that all goes back to self-love. Then I think we would be okay. I think it's important for people to be themselves, just because, and probably just the way that I'm looking at the situation is a little bit different. Colonialism really has people in a fake ass world, like, where they're just pretending to be whatever else, right? And that's so toxic, you know.
And I think actually I think technology has more people in. Yes, it starts with colonialism, but I think technology made it worse. Even though I love technology, I still do. But I realize that in some people, you can be a troll online, but then someone gave you permission to be a troll outside of that technology. And it's made it to the point where, you know, having interactions with other human beings can be scary sometimes, because you never know how someone's going to react to something. You know, I don't even argue about politics anymore.
Oh, you mean like the super, like, PC, like, oh, you have to use certain words that aren't harmful?
No, you know what? I don't. That's the natural evolution of language. I believe in the natural evolution of language. It's going to happen whether you like it or not. There are certain things in a society that are going to happen whether you like it or not. Cancel culture, it's going to happen whether... I didn't think about Pepe Le Pew until 2 weeks ago, when everybody's like, oh, they're canceling Pepe Le Pew. I'm like, okay, even I knew Pepe Le Pew was an issue. Even I knew that.
But,
and society just went, you know what? We're not going to talk about Pepe Le Pew. And we never did. And then suddenly 2 weeks ago, everybody's like, oh, you're canceling Pepe Le Pew. And it's like... It
kind of shows, though, the racist, like, the racist history that these countries, like, that we're a part of, like, have had. And I think that cancel culture actually scares me, because it's the same thing as they're burning the books. They're still just burning the books.
Our histories, about that too.
Like, and literally, like, they have giant factories filled with workers, like, all over the United States. Since I live here in the States, you know, that's what could best discuss. And they're still burning the books. So our future generations are going to have no idea what's going on, you know? And so that's a way still to continue disconnecting people from their cultures and our cultures and what's actually been going on. The legitimate history is trying to be disguised. They were trying to write slavery out of the history books, calling it indentured servitude 4 years ago. You know,
they've been trying to do that in Texas for the last 15 years.
Right. And so, but these things, like these are issues for the future generations. Like we should be really, really paying attention to what's going on. Like
but you're the generation that's putting the knowledge out there. That's the beautiful thing. You're still the generation putting the knowledge out there. Yes, I wouldn't have known textbooks were changing because you're the generation you're the generation that has taught me more about my own history than my teachers taught me about. I didn't know a lot about the people, places, and things that were happening as a black person. Yeah. That has been happening for hundreds of years. I have always stated this as a fact. We ain't going nowhere. Y'all have tried literally everything to get rid of us. Everything. Y'all have tried to thrust the diseases on us. Y'all have tried to wipe out towns.
I know.
Y'all have tried to...
Our people are too strong.
We ain't going anywhere. And you know why? For the last 600 years, this is our... And I tell this to every person, because I think this is the most important thing. Motherfucker, my ancestors helped build this country too. I'm more American than you are. Yeah. I'm just as American. Now, by the way, remember, the white man stole this land, not us. Yeah. Let's make that quite clear.
No, for real.
Let's make that quite clear. We were stolen from our land.
We got stolen.
We got stolen. Your land got stolen.
We got stolen. You know.
So, but still, we helped build. We fought in all your wars, even when you didn't want us there.
You know.
We have always been here. We ain't going nowhere. So I don't understand why y'all think that. I mean, I am watching.
It's so strange. Like I
said, I'm watching young black people going to college more than they've gone in years. I'm watching young black people making good lives for themselves in spite of all of this. In spite of it.
Yeah, that's the thing.
I know it's hard to be a black person. I
was born black. It's not that easy.
I was told when I was from elementary school all the way to high school, you're the whitest black person on the planet.
Which is so horrible.
Which is horrible. Which I'm like,
it's a horrible statement. So to be intelligent, I would have to be of another race, right? So that's, I mean, they demean us on every level. At the same time, they want us to protect them. They love our food. They love our ways. Like, our ways are so strengthening,
but we're stigmatized. You are.
Yeah, you know, and it's just like, honestly, fuck the colonizer's language. That's how I feel about it.
That's why I'm praising this generation. This generation has a lot of problems, and I get that. But I'm praising this generation more and more because I have learned more about our history. Because let me say this too. This is white and black.
Yeah.
This is white and black. I have learned more about our history, and I say this with all the kindness and love I can say, from just as much from white people as I have from other black people.
Yeah.
Because you guys are, as a group, young people, y'all are out there learning the history.
Yeah.
Y'all are talking about history that no one learned about in textbooks in school. And y'all are actually kind of pissed off about the fact that y'all didn't learn this stuff in school.
Yeah.
So I'm more optimistic than most. Like I say, I see these trends, and I know, yes, I do worry. I mean, I know they made a big deal about the Dr. Seuss books. Let me reiterate this one more time. What I hate about this instant culture is the fact that we don't read like we did before.
Yeah.
We don't read and comprehend what we're reading. Yeah. So when a person will read 5 sentences in a paragraph and automatically assume that the whole story is racist or this or that or blah, 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 without taking into the idea of the context of what they're reading or reading the whole thing.
Yeah.
Because I think people don't read the whole thing. The issue with the Dr. Seuss books was the fact that the family decided to pull certain books because that they knew those books were kind of racist. They didn't pull all of the Dr. Seuss books. They only pulled like 6 books because they recognize that those books, and this is the family, by the way, recognize that those books probably shouldn't be in the mainstream. So a lot of that, and like I said, a lot of that is misinformation, and that a lot of that is pure laziness. Because if you took the time to read the article, you would have known that that's not what the issue was. It was not about cancel culture. It was the fact that the family decided that they didn't want those books published anymore.
Yeah, and misinformation is a huge thing that all of us, but are facing right now, because it's just kind of like there is this CIA tactic, right? And when you're trying to get a person's like consciousness to break down, right? They do this thing where they just bombard you with nonsensical information day and night, day and night, day and night. And after a couple days, people will literally just tell everything that they need to know, because they there's no
that's learned from Nazi propaganda.
Exactly.
tactics.
And so that's what's going on, like with the social media too. It's just nonsense bullshit. You don't know what's real, you don't know what's fake, you don't know what's going on. And that's a way to break down the consciousness of the people, again, to pacify us, so we're not making waves and changing like these things that are this assault on our earth, this assault on our people. And to me, like, I'm black, native, white, whatever, like legitimately, like I'm of all these things within my blood, right? And so
that's 90% of most black people in this country.
We're all mixed together, and so it's just kind of like that unconditional love, like, is present. Black people are some loving individuals, Native people are some loving individuals. And so back to it, like, we need to go outside and put our feet in the earth, soak up some sunlight, pray and meditate, exercise, take care of our bodies, eat healthy food, and take care of ourselves, right? Our relationship with creation, our families, and our communities in the best way we can. And that's really all that we can do for the future generations, because we're borrowing this earth, we're borrowing these lands, and there's some magical forces of nature. Like, these forces of nature are magic, right? And that's going to be that has been what's kept us so strong. And there's been, again, they're trying to make us feel disconnected, right? Disconnected from ourselves. People are going crazy in their minds right now. People are feeling like so sick in their minds because they're not taking care of their bodies. And so spiritual life is not. I'm
one of those people.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna sit here and lie. I'm one of those people.
And that doesn't feel good. And I'm one of the people that's just sent here to let you know, baby, that you deserve better. Like, life is not supposed to hurt. Life is supposed to be filled with joy. Life is supposed to be filled with love. So it's gonna be okay though, because you're strong.
Yeah,
our ancestors are strong.
Exactly. So. We're going to take one more break,
okay,
and it's going to be the final break, and then we're going to end the show. I'm having such a good time with you.
Okay.
Such a good time with you. I've learned so much, but I think let's get a little personal in the last half of the show, because, like I said, I've learned so much about our society. This is what I'm saying. I'm learning so much from you young people. You young people are constantly educating us. And I feel so privileged to, one, not have to do the work. I'm sorry y'all have to do all the work. I'm sorry y'all have to do all the work. I am so sorry, but I want to have fun. When I turned 50, I realized something. I wasted the first half of my life worrying about what other people thought of me.
Yeah.
That it was crippling. And the next part of my life, when I leave this earth, I'm having a motherfucking good time.
Right?
And I want to learn. I have always been about wanting to learn. I have never stopped wanting to learn. I do not consider myself a smart person. I consider myself someone who wants to learn.
Same.
And I love learning about other people. I love learning about new ideas. Like I said, which is why I dabbled in so many different religions. I loved being a Wiccan for a little bit.
Okay.
But it's super expensive. Honestly, it's super. You have to buy the altar. You have to buy all the accoutrements that go with it. all the herbs and stuff, and I'm like, this is worse than my grocery bill. I can't do that. I can't. But you know what? Like I said, it's me about learning. I read books. One of my greatest personal triumphs, and I think everybody should have a great personal triumph. One of my greatest personal triumphs was when I was in school, and back then they divided you into groups. Mm-hmm. So if you were in the red group, you were a great reader. If you were in the blue group, you were an okay leader, and if you were in the yellow group, not so great.
Okay.
So that's where the divisions started.
Okay, yeah, I'm like scowling.
Yes, exactly. That's where the division started among children. I did not want to be in the yellow group. I knew that. I did not want to be in the yellow group because they got tired of teachers looking at me like I was an idiot. And so I made it a point to learn how to read better. And I think one of the first books I picked up is one of the hardest to read, Lord of the Rings.
Okay,
the
wow.
first Lord of the Rings.
Hey.
And I forced myself, I would get a dictionary and look up certain words. And by the way, if you read Lord of the Rings, there are a lot of words in there that are not in a dictionary. These are words that he made up.
Okay.
So I had to learn how to read that book.
Yeah.
And by the time I finished the book, I read it out loud in class, and I was no longer in the yellow group.
Okay, perfect.
Because I'm like, I don't want to be in the yellow group. And I learned, and I just kept reading and reading and reading. By the time I reached a certain level, I was reading on. By the time I reached, I think, 7th grade, I was already reading on a college level.
Okay, perfect.
Because I loved reading. So and like I said, I think everybody should have a personal triumph, because that's something that you start from when things get really bad, when you are alone, depressed, whatever. You should have that personal triumph in the back of your head of something that you conquered. I feel the same way about when I do the show. I had to overcome a lot of stuff. Still not a lot of listeners, but we're working on it. We're getting there.
They're coming.
It's coming. So the sex. That'll come too, but
in more ways than
yes,
one.
in more ways than one. On a spiritual level as well.
Yeah. I mean, truly.
Mm-hmm. But the success, which I think everybody should measure their own success. I'm not really worried about money, as long as I can pay the bills and everything else, and continue to do the show. That makes me the happiest person on the planet.
Yeah.
And like I said, after I turned 50, I learned that I wanted to be happy.
Yeah.
And I don't give a damn about anybody else's personal feelings. I don't give a damn about your opinions about me. I'm gonna do whatever I want. I do what I want.
Yeah. For real.
So I think I don't regret my youth. I had to go through a lot of crap. Went through a lot of stuff, from bad parenting to terrible friends to issues with booze, not drugs really. I was never really into drugs. Weed every now and then, but not really into
medicine. Weed is a medicine.
Weed is a medicine, but I had to go through a lot of self-esteem issues.
Yeah.
So now that I've reached that point, you don't want to die going through.
No, you don't.
That. You want to live and be happy. You want to enjoy yourself. You want to meet new people and have new experiences. And yes, I'm going to say it again. And have sex.
You know, it's
you want to do those things.
Yeah.
You want to live a normal life. So, or an extraordinary life.
Exactly.
And your extraordinary life is defined any way you want to do it. So we're going to take a little break, because actually I need a bathroom break.
Okay. Me too.
Okay. Well, ladies first, and we'll be right back.
Hey. Okay.
Because I have to.
Houston's hot mess of a podcast.
And we are back. I'm back with Prescylia Mae.
Hello.
I think I finally got it right.
Yes.
Yay!
Thank you, Joel. Yay!
Yay! We're back with Prescylia Mae. And we're reaching the conclusion of the show. And I wanted to talk to Priscilla for a moment. Growing up, tell us a little bit about your childhood. I know that you were adopted.
I was adopted.
And where did Priscilla? It's a beautiful name. What do you know the origin of the name?
I'm actually not sure the origin. No. I was only able to find one like name meaning thing when I was growing up, right? So my name is Prescylia Mae, which means ancient goddess, which I fully embrace.
Yes, you do.
Thank you.
Yes, you do.
But you know, I feel like my soul's origins is just like a very like divine space of legitimate love and understanding, you know, as well as like a warrior spirit. But growing up, I grew up in the North. We had there was a lot. I was taken away from my mother at an early age, and we were put into the foster system, which is horrible. But with the kind of spirit that I have, I didn't realize until I was more equipped to handle the emotional traumas that I was even in traumatizing situations. So at first it was just like, oh, like the people around me are unwell, like this is unhealthy, like they have to be hurting. And so from the time I was so young, I was just trying to figure out, right, like psychologically, what was going on with the abusers in my area. But besides that, I mean, we had like super soft grass, you know, the butterflies and the birds, and we would go and we would pick berries. I've always been super in love with the stars. You
know, I miss lightning bugs more than anything. I miss lightning bugs so much.
They're so special. You know, still in Houston, and not in Houston, but like when you go out camping, you can still find the lightning bugs during certain times of the year here in Texas. Yeah, it's so beautiful. Yeah, so I was always like a nature baby, and we planted flowers, and again we went berry picking and climbed mountains, and we were able to just like really be in with nature, you know. So northwest, you know, of the states, just like really to be able to, we had access to oceans and beaches, and we were able to be outside and run and play, you know. Our foster parent, I was adopted with two of my biological siblings, and our foster parent was also an abused person, you know. And so you really just have to learn, like, oh, they were like these cycles of abuse, they, unless you really put a stop to them and learn how to heal yourself, they continue. No matter how good of a heart, no matter how good of a spirit, unless you decide to be like healthy and you recognize, like, oh, you know, like, I'm unhealthy, I'm not well, I'm affecting my surroundings in a bad way, you're always gonna spread hurt and harm. And so my foster parent didn't understand that at the time. She knows better now. She's learning. It's really interesting. I'm really, I'm proud of her. Because at the end of the day, no matter what's going on, like, we all have to be healing together. We need to raise the planet's vibrationary frequency. I don't give a fuck if, you know, you choked me until, literally, there's a situation where I was choked until my neck was bleeding. My head is getting slammed into, you know, the bathroom tile for a mess that I didn't even make, you know, and yeah, that hurt me. Like, that traumatized me, right? But right now, to this day, like, I've healed from that situation. And if this person, you know, did those things, they have to be super hurting too. Is it my responsibility to help them with their healing process? No, it's not. Not at all. But I'm just that kind of heart, right? So it's just like, if you come to me and you say, you know, oh, I need to talk, or, you know, this or that, like, but we need to address things too, right? And so you may have abused me, but it doesn't matter, because the point is everybody healing. The point is raising the planet's vibrationary frequency, where I'm comfortable as well, you know, because I did ask. I mean, I let her know, like, like, you gotta apologize, you know, because that shit hurt me. Like, we don't traumatize people and not address it. You know, that's like narcissistic. That's not what we're doing, right? We're identifying the roots of issues, and we're healing as a global community, right? That's what needs to happen. Otherwise, stuff's not gonna be looking good. And so, anyways, as I grew up, I was always really interested in healing, in the arts, in human psychology. plants and herbs and stuff like that. I tutor little kids with like English comprehension, and I mean, we do like art projects at my house.
Are you currently in college right now?
No, I'm not, but I'm gonna go back. My mom, who took me in from abusive situations, my mama bear, she's so cool. She's a real old school, like, woman, black woman, baby. You ain't messing with, you know. So I was blessed to be able to be raised around, like our culture that developed, like, after slavery. Like, people have no idea, like, how beautiful, like, how strong, like, African American people truly, truly are. Because there's a fear and there's a stigmatization, but fuck all that. Honestly, like, have you ever been like over to a black grandma's house? Like, for real, like, have you ever just like sat with the people and like learned from their ways? Because I'm telling you, like, all my white friends get a lot stronger after they spend time with my mom, and they feel better about who they are, you know, and learn, you know, new skills. Like, it's a beautiful thing. So my mom, she's real tough. She's real old school, so loving, so beautiful. She's a dancing spirit. She's, you know, like, our ways are, you know, have to do with cooking and cleaning. And, like, for myself, as, you know, as a young woman, like, I learned how to take care of myself. I learned how to take care of my home. I learned, you know, there was a point in time that I learned, there was a man who actually, he actually put his hands on my mother, right? Which, honestly, when that happened, I was more concerned for him. Like, I was like, uh-oh, dog, like, you was about to die. Like, I was like, I came out, like, I was younger, I had, like, tears in my eyes, and I was like, Mom, like, don't kill him. Like, I say, Mom, don't kill him. Right. And, legitimately, like, this is a serious lesson that I learned from my mom. So she told him, she had a Louisville Slugger bat in her hand, and she tells him, you know, motherfucker, you got 5 seconds to get out of my house. And he leaves. And, but black woman magic, I don't know, like, he just couldn't, like, go away. Like, you would think, you know, if you was about to get murdered, that you would get to stepping, right? But he stayed outside of our house. This was the most interesting thing, because my mom is a good woman. She supports herself. She supports everyone around her. Like, when you're around, you're growing, right? And so she's super, super duper responsible, and so loving. She provided me the unconditional love that I never received growing up. So that was super healing. I was always very, very grateful for that, and for her to be a black woman. I mean, culturally, like I was able to grow up very, very well rounded, with respect for my elders and with respect for myself. And so this man, right, stays outside of our house for like a week, like rain, like cold, like he's just out there sitting outside of our house. And my mom, you know, she's coming home from work, she's taking me to school, she's doing all the stuff, coming to all my shows, doing all, you know, in the, you know, crowd for everything that I've got going on. And I'm a straight A student, you know, advanced placement classes, it wasn't hard for me. And I was able to separate myself from the education system, like, and to really observe it, you know. And so she comes home one day and she's cooking, and she just gives me this plate, and she's like, take this outside to, you know, the dude that's sitting outside of our house. And I just remember looking at her and I say, Mom, I say, he put his hands on you. Like, why would you feed him? You know, like, he's not even supposed to be out there. You know, he put his hands on you. Why would you feed him? And my mom just kind of looks at me with, like, I mean, just so cool. And she's like, baby, I would feed a dog. And, like, that was it, you know? Like, naturally, in her way, is to give. You know, it don't really matter what you did, as long as you're not hurting me currently. If I can help, I will. I know you're hungry, you know? I'm gonna feed you. That's the strength of our people. A lot of people can't do that, you know? So, anyways, that was just the story I wanted to share.
You know, I love when people of color come onto the show, because whether I'm getting a Latin experience, the Asian experience, or what have you, it's that love and it's that strength that we get from our cultures that just make us just solid individuals. And you know, I also noticed across those cultures where I think food really brings families together. Food. And you know, the wonderful thing And the wonderful thing about living in Houston is the fact that I've dated men of many different cultures, and it's always a gathering. It's the food. It's the love in the room. It's the heart. It's the warmth. And I realize that's across all cultures. That's especially across people. I love to say that ethnic culture is so much better, slightly better.
I just want to say the soul.
The soul.
Okay.
Yes, the soul. So, it's just the idea of the love and the food and the warmth and the acceptance. I have grown up as usually the only black kid in school. And, well, I mean, of course, I had two brothers, but being the only black kid in so many situations. And luckily, strong enough mother who was like, you know what, you're black, it is what it is. Go out and enjoy your life.
Yeah.
And so, so being around different cultures was never uncomfortable for me. I never uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I've never been uncomfortable usually in any situation. I was a guy who went into a country western bar and sat down and had a beer.
Yeah.
In one of the whitest places ever, and ended up making friends with most of the people inside, because that's just what I do. It's just a part of, it's just my nature. So when I am around different cultures and everything else, and like I said, when you see the love of family and everything else, it's just so heartwarming.
Yeah, and it's beautiful,
and by the way, most people, I don't like to use it. Well, we use the blanket term white. But there's different cultures in...
Yeah, I mean Spaniard and European colonization, generally. When I'm just like, white man world, like it's Spaniard, European colonization. I think more Anglo-Saxon than anything else. Okay. I don't, I leave out Italian, Greeks, this and that, because once again, rich cultures and like I said, food is always, I love food. So, I'll be the first to admit I love food. So, when I get invited when I'm dating someone and they're like, hey, you're going to come meet my family, and I'm like, oh wait, you're the last guy. You're Greek. I'm gonna have a good time. Okay, right? Yeah, right. The
food's gonna be amazing. I'm gonna have a great time. Yeah. There's gonna be a lot of singing and dancing, and especially when I bring, and like you said it too, especially when I bring my white friends over to meet my family. My stepmother, everybody always gushes over them, and make sure. Did he get fed? Make sure he gets. Yeah. Make sure give him about 2 plates.
He needs to eat, right?
Especially if they're skinny.
Exactly.
Oh, this skinny white boy. You're not. If you're gonna be in this family, you are not gonna be
like
skinny.
You're starving. We gonna fix that real quick.
Look. And my friends will leave going, Joel, that was the best time
I
ever had. And I'm like, people singing and dancing, playing dominoes, or
exactly, yeah,
or aunts and uncles.
Yeah, that's a cultural strength from the aunties.
The aunties, I must have known I was a gay man a long time. Now I've known that I've liked men since I was 6, and so I knew that I liked men. I just didn't know what it was called. But I enjoyed sitting around the aunties.
Okay,
because the aunties had all the best gossip, first of all. And they knew how to talk about it. Every time somebody walked into a room, they had something to say. And I'm
know, right?
Oh, my.
Charging you from the door.
Exactly. Oh, look at Thelma walking in here thinking she all this and that and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, y'all that's your sister. Y'all some
right.
mean.
Right. I was that kid that was like, wait a minute. Like, no, we love them. Like, what do you mean?
No, I love her, but she come in here acting all bougie and all this other stuff. And I'm like, well, she does come in here acting bougie, but still,
like
she gives the best presents, so I don't care.
Something that that I always thought was super, super funny, and I say this, with my differently, cultured friends, right? I noticed, in my white friends, households, right? Is the difference.
I'm going to use Anglo-Saxon in this term because
Anglo-Saxon
kind of Connecticut kind of friends. Yes,
it's just so funny because legitimately, it's just the difference in culture where the parents, right, the aunties, they'll just kind of be like, oh, did you hear that John did this and that and did a whisper, right? And then John walks in the door and it's just like, oh, hi, John. How are you doing? We love you. We miss you, right? But in a black family, right, it's just like, bitch, did you hear that John had this, and that going on? And then John walks in the door and it's like, hey, like, we was just talking about you. Like, come, like, sit down, like, and like, they'll discuss it, right? And so there's like an openness. There's like a legitimate, just like truth. Like, there's a no filter, you know? And so I really, 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 really appreciate that about our culture. It's just like the lack of filters. Just like nothing is being hidden. We're just letting you know how it is, you know? And there's power in that. And when I say power, I mean like humbly, with the forces of, you know, creation kind of strength.
Yes. So,
and that comes from our ancestry.
Mm-hmm. So yes, it's a beautiful thing. You know, being the gay in the family, and I say the gay in the family. Not that it's more dramatic than when I walk into the room and then everybody goes quiet.
Oh, no.
And then they go, ooh, Alan's here. They call me by my middle name in my family. Alan's here. I bet he's got some stories. And they come rushing over. And my brother, I love my brother, but like I said, he's a dick. He'll be like, how come Alan only comes over here once a year and y'all lose y'all mind, blah, 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 blah. Here I cooked all this food and y'all lose y'all mind as soon as he walks in the door. And I'm like, you know what? This is fun. I kind of enjoy it sometimes because it's like I enjoy the attention sometimes. But after a while, it's like, can y'all please stop calling me the gay?
The gay, like, come on.
Or stop introduce my stepmother. Well, this is my gay son, such and such. And I'm like,
oh my God.
It was cute at first, but then after that, it's like, you know,
I'm a person.
First of all, my name is Alan.
Right.
Second of all, they don't need to know my business because I'm not asking about their business.
Right.
Why you keep telling my business?
You know.
So yeah, so I had to put a stop to that because after a while, I was like, you're not going to introduce me like that. But let's, like I said, we only have a few more minutes, and you know, I want to. Well, what's your goals for the future? What are you thinking about for your life, your future? How you gonna make that money, so to speak, and all this other stuff?
So for my life and my future, truly,
Prescylia Mae, everyone.
I know that my life's purpose does have to do with love and understanding and joy, you know, and so I plan to take care of myself and my relationship with the Creator. I plan to. You know, this world's definition of success has nothing to do with how I view living, right? It's all, so I plan for my businesses to be something that is healing for my surroundings. I plan to help to heal within my family, within my community, and that way of healing be a way that garnishes resources, money, you know, for myself, so I can leave that for my future generations to help, you know, set them in a straight way.
Yeah, exactly.
I plan on living. I plan on healing. I plan on healing, helping to do my part with our Mother Earth before I dip out of here and transition in the spirit world. That's my plan.
You know what, Priscilla? It's an amazing plan. That's how I'm viewing it right now. I'm like, I'm fixing to live until I'm ready to check on it. When God, the Creator, Buddha, whoever says, hey, you know what? It's time for you to go. I'm ready to go. Let's do this.
You know?
I had a good time.
Right.
I had a good time. I told my two best friends, I said, if I'm laying on my deathbed, here's what I'm going to say. I love y'all, but fuck this. I'm out.
Right? Like, gotta get
I got to get out. I got to get out.
Crazy stuff going on right now.
Exactly. Y'all can handle all of that.
You know?
But I'm done. I did all my stuff.
I just whisper to the spirit of all the people before I pass, don't forget that you're a warrior.
And don't forget to tell Nurse Kale.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that. Thank you. Thank you for sending me out.
So, you know, for the people, I think it's really important not to live in fear, not to live in worry, not to live in self-doubt, legitimately.
Well, you know what? Honestly, fear
weakens your immune system.
Fear and I'm going to speak my truth. Fear has been the most crippling thing that I could possibly ever imagine. It has kept me from doing the things that I really wanted to do with my life.
Yeah.
It put me in a place of despair for a long, long time. And I don't know if it happened, like I said, with age, I don't know if it happened because I just said, fuck it. But for the most part, fear, I want it gone. And there are still times that I'll wake up in bed and I don't want to get out of bed because it's like, the fear can be overwhelming sometimes. I do suffer from anxiety from time to time. Okay. So the fear can be overwhelming, but at the same time, feeling my knees shake when I start something new, mm-hmm. and feeling that sense of accomplishment when I conquer it, because I had to push through all that fear to get through it. And I feel like it's getting easier, mm-hmm. and easier and easier. It's kind of like working out. You have to keep pushing it and pushing it and pushing it until you get a little stronger. The fear is always going to be there. You're never going to escape fear 100%. But if you learn to understand that it's going to be there and that you have to push through it, you can literally conquer anything.
I think that kind of, fear is like it's an indicator, mm-hmm. That something needs to move.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And so like adrenaline, right?
Yeah,
or
exactly.
Anxiety is legitimately just adrenaline. So it's just like, I can sit here and feel horrible, or I can get the fuck up and I can move and do, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
And so fear, it is a poison, right? People, mm-hmm. we really are warriors. When you fear, you stop yourself from doing so much, exactly. Right? And so, yeah, but there is that little bit, that internal, just and it's a aiding force to move,
mm-hmm.
to move to action, and all of our souls know what's calling us, to act. Mm-hmm. And so we just gotta, I think, follow that. And fear, I don't live in fear. Mm-hmm. I used to live in fear as a woman out here in these streets, and the best thing that ever happened to me. And, we could, anything could happen at any point. We could die at any point. But at the same time, we could die at any point, so we need to live,
Yeah, exactly.
So whatever's coming at me, I'm going to handle it. Whether that be with love, whether that be my warrior coming out to protect myself,
mm-hmm.
that's what we're going to do, And so I'm grateful to the fear that I used to have, and it just doesn't have a place with mm-hmm. me to live anymore, because like you said, it was just mm-hmm. preventing me from doing so much, mm-hmm. and we deserve to live.
Honestly, I don't think that I will ever completely be free from fear, but I think that I understand it better now, and I know that if I push myself, that I will conquer the things that I need to conquer. I also allow myself to feel. As a man, we have always been told to internalize everything. And even though I came out as a gay man, one of the things that I was told that I still needed to be a man. And I still needed to, if you're going to be gay, be a man about it, which I didn't understand. I never understood that saying. I never understood it. If you're going to be gay, then be a man about it. And I'm like, what does that even mean, really? Because I'm still a man.
Yeah, you are a man.
So I never understood that statement. That was a statement that always puzzled me for quite some time. Mm-hmm. And it took a long time to realize that as a man, I get to choose how I lead my life. I get to choose my own destiny. So that if I get to choose my own destiny, why are all these people telling me how to be a man?
Exactly.
I get to make those choices.
Yeah.
If I want to feel something, I feel a lot more than I've ever felt. So I embrace all the emotions because I've never been able to embrace them before.
Yeah.
And so even when I'm sad or angry or what have you, I embrace it.
Yeah, it's good too.
Because it's part of my spirit. It's part of who I am. So, I think I told a friend, I so enjoy being angry. And he said, why would you say that? Because I've never been able to be angry before. I've always had to be the understanding friend. Yeah. And if I was angry about something, I put it on the back burner because it's like, well, maybe this is going on and blah, 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 blah. Or if somebody hurt me, I went, maybe I deserved it, blah, 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 blah. I never allowed myself to be angry. So now being angry feels freeing because now it allows me to focus on the fact that this is who I am. I'm not saying I'm an angry person
at all. Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm an angry person at all. I'm saying that I'm a person who's in order
embrace
to
your own
self-heal,
feelings. Yeah.
that I need to be okay with feeling things and not having a problem with feeling passionate about things. With, that kind of, there is passion in me.
Yeah, exactly. And when I'm angry, like I like to say, I've had really good teachers over my life. So when I'm angry, I like to say, I am anger, because in that moment, like of whatever, I am angry. Like you embrace it, right? You feel how it is to feel in that kind of way. And then with an understanding like that I have, that too much anger, too much sorrow, too much of this, too much of that, will hurt you. So you identify the root. You have to understand that something is present first to find the root and, see what's going on. What's wrong? Why am I angry? This is why, now whether that has to do with what's going on around me or what's going on internally is for me to decide and to move through as I heal. But you're right. If we don't embrace what's going on with us, if we try to act like those things aren't there, we'll be poisoning our own systems.
Exactly. So you, especially as a man, you have to learn to get past that. And I think I honestly had to learn how to separate being gay from being a man, because the two do not coincide with each other. Not to me in a sense, because for me, like I said, we live in such a world of toxic masculinity, and trying to define what that really means, especially in the gay community, going from femme, being femme or top or bottom or this and that, and one being preferred over the other because one is still...
Yeah, those divisionary
one destroys
tactics.
the feminine. That's what it is. I embrace the feminine.
Exactly, and that's important.
Yes, exactly, and that is important. And there's nothing wrong. Why is the feminine something to be made fun of?
First of all, it's more manly to embrace the feminine.
That's why I separate the gay from the man, because I enjoy the feminine side.
Yes, it's important.
And I celebrate it. And I think every man needs to stop with having emotions is not a masculine, feminine thing.
Yeah,
it's a human thing.
And it can be, associated heavily with feminine, right, energy, because we're feeling, right, feminine energy is a nurturing thing, it's an understanding thing. But all, like I said, it's a powerful thing, and that's the thing. We live in a patriarchal society. It tries to diminutize the value of the divine feminine.
Yeah, exactly.
But like I continue to say, as a divine masculine essence, if you are trying to belittle divine feminine, you're only belittling your divine masculine, because we work in unity, right?
We work as one.
And so when you are hiding that within yourself, and I get it, like, society is pretty whack. It's going to tell you being yourself is a problem every time. So if you're hiding or suppressing that divine feminine in you, and then your divine masculine is going to get into something very, very toxic. So with our men, whether, however, the people identify, both the masculine and the feminine are divine things to be honored. And you're right, we live in a society that says, no, your divine feminine essence is a weak thing. And I say, let them think it.
Exactly. But we also live in a society where we're starting to really question the ideas of gender roles, of the masculine and the feminine. And we're seeing explosion of the idea of, wait, what is gender? What does that really mean? What does that construct really mean in today's world? Why can't I, as a man, want to wear a dress if I want to wear a dress?
And I think if you want to wear a dress, you wear a dress, baby.
You wear a dress. I mean, if that's what you want to do. But by the way, your grandfathers and your great-grandfathers wore dresses when they were 3-4 years old.
Exactly.
The color pink is not a feminine color. There's no such thing as a masculine and feminine color. I have really been trying to get that point. There's no such thing as masculine or feminine when it comes to color.
Society's been conditioned.
You've been conditioned to think that way.
Yeah.
In fact, until the 1960s, pink was a boy's color.
Hey, that's cool.
Anybody could wear pink. Literally, anybody could wear pink. The pink and the blue thing didn't happen until 1960s marketing.
That was a newer thing.
Yeah, it's a newer thing. It's advertising.
Yeah.
It made advertising to different groups a lot easier. So they said, and it's the same with toys. It was the same with video games. Yeah. It was the same thing. More divisionary tactics, because the idea, and in fact, I'm a gamer, a bit of a gamer. So, in the early days of video games, Atari, ColecoVision, this and that.
Atari.
This is how old I am. I'm sorry.
I play Atari.
But the fact of the matter is that 60% of people who were playing video games were girls.
Okay.
60% of the market were girls.
Okay.
So when it came down to where that gaming system, what aisle it was going to go in, the gaming industry got together and said, well, we can't put it in the girls aisle, even though girls are the ones who buy the games the most. And boys actually were not interested in video games that much. It was girls who were interested in video games. So we're going to put it in the boys department, and then we're going to advertise heavy to boys, and we're going to put women in bikinis and do this and that and make it to the point where it's only a masculine thing. And to drive females out of it was intentional to drive females out of the video game market.
Oh wow!
It was an intentional ploy to drive, even though women, and even today, women still play more games, video games, than men. Okay. They might do it on their mobile devices a lot more, but they still play video games more than men. So we're still having the divide of that's why we're having the gender conversation, because I think we're all getting really tired of the fact that why can't I be a nurse or a hairdresser or this and that?
Yeah,
or
little
why
girls
can't I go
being told, oh no, I don't want your help. I need a boy's help.
Yeah, exactly.
Why? I'm just as strong. I'm stronger than that kid.
Why can't I get my little boy a little kitchen set?
Exactly.
And my little girl the dump trucks?
Why can't my little boy play the harp? Or this toxic division?
Yeah, exactly.
I hear parents tell their little boys, oh, that's girl shit. Don't do that. And it's just like you're stifling them.
And let me remind you guys of something, especially you guys who were kids in the 70s and 80s. You played with dolls. They were not action figures. You played with dolls. You played with dolls that were the same height and size as a Barbie doll.
Yeah.
But with terrible clothing. Terrible clothing. Ken had some amazing, as much as I love Barbie, Ken had some pretty good clothes.
Okay.
Ken he didn't have anything going on downstairs, which I was confused by too, but
right.
I'm like, she has this, and I know there's nothing there, but he has nothing.
Nothing.
Just a little piece of plastic. So, you know what? We're Miss May. We're almost at the end of the show.
Okay, I appreciate
Priscilla.
the time.
I have had a great time. Did you bring me some poetry to end the show with? Did you bring me some poetry?
I did.
I was hoping you would bring me some poetry to end the show. Let's end the show with a bit of your poetry.
Cyan mist sprays from a land encased in lotus flowers and stars. The starlight gains intelligence and blossoms into art. Oh, how art and life are one. Willows weep universal preachings, while the stream of consciousness holds universal teachings. Spirituality stirs in the descendants of the sleeping. While bones decay, the soul is gay, filtered only by the setbacks happened upon by the carbon-based vessel in its timeless and yet perennial life. Oh, while the mind is lost to time, the essence's continual shine serves to remind us of the old and ancient wisdoms hidden beneath the sheath of darkness bonding all men into this realm. Something almost weightless and very shiny dances beneath the skin of man. This same energy shimmers sensitively under the esoteric conceptions pertaining to these lands. The God Force and art walk hand in hand.
Oh my goodness! I had to turn my mic down because I didn't want my breathing or anything going on. I wanted everybody to make sure that. Thank you, Priscilla. Thank you so much for being on the show. I'm gonna have to have you back on every now and then so we can talk more about. I think we need more spirituality in our community, especially. I think we need to talk more about spirituality and everything else in our community and how we can grow. And I'm always one looking for solutions to problems, not talking about problems constantly.
Solutions.
Let's look for solutions when it comes to our spiritual and mental growth as well.
Yeah.
So, thank you, Priscilla, for being on the show. I just want to sing your. She with such joy. she recited that poem with such joy. You should see the smile. I have a photographer in the room. I hope he get some pictures of that smile, because that smile is amazing. I mean, she's a woman of joy, of love, of power. She's the inner goddess of Montrose, of Houston, Texas. Prescylia Mae, everyone. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you so much.
Let's get these people out of here, because I know everybody's got stuff to do, work to do, and everything. I always have a hard time ending the show because I never know what the proper ending is. So thank you, everyone, for being here. Thank you, Josh, for making sure she got here safely.
At least I can do.
Exactly. Thank you, Jonathan, for taking pictures and some videos and stuff that we could post online. And thank you, Charlotte. I know you're out there, and I know you have a lot of stuff going on. We love you. We can't wait to have you back on the show. I really do want you to meet Priscilla. You will love and adore her. So we're out. We'll see y'all next time.
God bless.
God bless.
This show is sponsored by Tubi's Woodworking. Tubi gives you wood. Also brought to you by Bitch Boy Undies. Get you a pair or else. You can follow the show on most social media at That Lil Gay Talk Show. Check out the website, thatlilgaytalks.com. Music and vocals by Jamie D of Diamond Cut Entertainment.